Hello, friend. Steve Baisden coming to you today. Today is August the 10th. It is Monday, and we just had our Spirit and Life lectures over this past weekend. It's good to see all of the folks that you don't get to see regularly, the ones that come in from out of town and from far away that you just don't get a chance to fellowship with in any other setting. So it's always encouraging. It's always good to be there with brethren of like precious faith. I appreciate that. And my topic this past lectureship series was the one spirit of Ephesians 4. My studies over the years has led me to draw different conclusions than what I was taught throughout my life growing up in the Church of Christ. In particular, when it comes to the baptism of the Holy Spirit, they've got it all wrong. They still have it all wrong. Unfortunately, there are some that just cannot let go. They just can't. Even when specifically proven wrong, they will go to extremes, terrible extremes, awful extremes, to try to cling to their false denominational beliefs about it. And I want to just give a quickie, just a real quick examination of one that tried to refute me the following day. My topic was one spirit, and their topic was one baptism. And it's my contention today that the one baptism of Ephesians chapter 4, verse 5 is Holy Spirit baptism. The context is Paul's dealing in context, literally. The whole book of Ephesians is focused upon the judgment coming. And, they had to get straightened up and do things and stay clean and stay good. And because the judgment's coming, until the redemption come. That evil day come, et cetera, from Ephesians 1 to Ephesians 6, and even in Ephesians 4, the context there is continuing to remind the Ephesians about the judgment, and we're going to endeavor to keep the unity of the bond of peace, right? Waiting for this day of judgment, where they had the miraculous gifts until that which is perfect has come, literally there in Ephesians chapter 4, talking about the end of the miraculous and the coming of the fulfillment of Christ. And that's the context of Ephesians 4:5 right there. One Lord, one faith, one baptism would hold them till the one final baptism would come. I'm not going to get into all the details of it. You can watch that video. But I am going to get into just a quick little synopsis of how, to the degree of what some people will go. Roy Runyon got up the next day and taught on one baptism. And basically his whole thing was in refutation of me. He is so easily refuted because he's straining at a gnat to swallow a camel. He doesn't even see it. It's glaring. It's really, in my estimation, very sad to see a man of his caliber go to such extremes in cognitive dissonance, if you will, and I'm going to give you a perfect illustration of that right now. The text I'm going to go to is Matthew 3 and Luke chapter 3. I use Luke 3 illustrating who John the Baptist was talking to when he said Jesus was going to baptize them with the Holy Spirit and fire. John said, I indeed baptize you with water, but there's one mightier than I am, Jesus. He's going to baptize you with the Holy Spirit and with fire. And Matthew's account reads a little different than Luke's account. And I'm going to put them on the screen right now for everyone to see. Let me get over there and bam, you should have it right there. Matthew's account is on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small verses explains the whole account of John the Baptist, explaining this event of the baptism of the Holy Spirit and the baptism of fire. But in Luke's account, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 verses, some of them fairly lengthy. And Luke goes through great detail in detailing it very specifically and emphatically. Now, in Matthew's account, it reads as if Jesus is only speaking to the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It's a very short, brief, general synopsis of the event. On the other hand, Luke gives a greatly detailed account of it. Luke says how the multitude came, and John speaks to the multitude. And then Luke says the Pharisees came, and John speaks to the Pharisees. And then Luke says the soldiers came, and John the Baptist spake to the soldiers. And the publicans came to be baptized, and John the Baptist speaks to the publicans. And he's going through great detail. And down toward the bottom of this exhortation in Luke chapter 3, verse 15 says, and as the people were in expectation, and all men mused in their hearts of John, whether he were the Christ or not, John answered unto them all. Them all who? The Pharisees, the soldiers, the publicans, and all the multitude, everybody who was there. Luke is giving a great detailed account of this exhortation of John the Baptist. Make me no mistake. Roy Runyon gets up and says the exact opposite. He said Matthew is a detailed account and Luke is a general account. So he's just going to use Matthew's account. Jesus only said this to the Pharisees and Sadducees. Well, does anybody find that to have a problem with that? I do. I have a great problem with it. Are you saying Luke is wrong? Are you saying you're picking Matthew's account over Luke's account? Is that what happened? It is. Literally. Is it true? He inverted the detailed over the account to the generalized account? Yeah, it's true. It's just true. Watch the videos. It's there. Can't help it, but it's true. Now, I'm going to go to a very fundamental biblical hermeneutic that everybody who is a sincere student of the Bible needs to adhere to. And that is, if you have two contradicting scriptures or passages, you're doing something wrong. You've got something wrong. And to have to force yourself to take one over the other, don't look at the other. Oh, it's just generalized. Yeah, right. No. When you do that, your fundamental biblical hermeneutic for studying the Bible is way skewed off the rails, wrong. So let's think about this for a minute. Matthew's account, he only records, and he just says that John's talking, and he mentions that the Pharisees and Sadducees are there. And so therefore, Roy says that's all he was talking to. Luke gives all the details of that, plus much more, and Luke says he's talking to all the people. Which way would harmonize? If you said, no, he's only talking to the Pharisees, that's all he's talking to, that would exclude all the people. But if he's talking to all the people, that would include the Pharisees. Now we have harmonization. Roy Runyon has skipped fundamental biblical hermeneutics. He has skipped common sense reasoning. He has skewed terribly off track, terribly bad. In almost every account I saw of his video, it was painful to watch. Very easily answered. I don't know who he thinks he's dealing with. It doesn't matter. He needs to deal with himself. Before Roy starts dealing with others, literally, Roy, you're my brother and I love you. You could call me right now and ask me for anything. If I could do it for you, I would. You're not You're not the same Roy Runyon I once knew when it comes to dealing with this topic. It's very sad. I don't care if I'm right about this topic or I'm wrong about this topic. I mean, I care, but it doesn't bother me what people think about me and my views. It's a small thing for me to be judged of anyone. But what I do care about is the validity of the people that are to be trusted, being able to count on their word, of them being sincere, honest, dedicated, following at least the fundamental principles of biblical hermeneutics and how to study the Bible. At least common sense reasoning, that would help a little bit. I could go on and on. I could talk to you about how he totally skipped over baptism of the Holy Spirit and said that John's only talking to him about the baptism of fire, even though John said he's going to baptize you with the baptism of the Holy Spirit and fire. You know, sort of reminds me of Mark 16:16. He that believeth and is baptized. And our denominational friends say, no, it's just belief. And we say, no, the word and there is a conjunction. God put those two words together and don't let any man pull them apart. Well, Roy Runyon's doing that in Matthew 3. And he should be using Luke 3 anyway with this text if he wants to get the fuller, detailed account of who John the Baptist is speaking to. But I'll leave that up to Mr. Roy Runyon, my brother, who I do love and I do care for. Anybody who says otherwise about this account in Matthew 3 versus Luke 3, one's more detailed, and I'm going to use one and ignore the other, and I'm just going to pretend the word baptism of the Holy Spirit's not there because the context is only the judgment and it's just fire. But John did say, and all the other Old Covenant texts and all the other New Covenant texts that describe it, and just forget them all and ignore them all and don't deal with it. And but I'll try to deal with one, and I'll deal with that one the way I'm dealing with this one. No, no, and no. You're in my prayers. I pray for everyone, and I have special prayers and mention of folks that I'm closest to, and I'm close with Brother Roy Runyon, and I love him. And Roy, I know you're going to see this, and I hate to make it public, brother, but when you started doing things the way you're doing them publicly, in refutation of what the Bible actually says, it is my duty and obligation to reprove and to rebuke in season and out of season with all long suffering and doctrine, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try to be as honest as I can. I love you, and hopefully we'll talk soon. May God bless, and y'all have a good day.